Hello there, I'm Lloyd Evans. Welcome to the attic. It's time for another voicemail. Today's voicemail is from Russell. Let's listen to what Russell has to say.
Hi, Lloyd. My name is Russell, and I'm a witness, and I've been disfellowshipped twice. I was recently reinstated. It's been over a year now, and I am making this recording, and I'm sending it to you because I recently told my mother that I no longer wish to be a witness anymore. And so far, I thought that there would be a huge blowout and hysteria and why. I mean, she's still doing all of the typical witness warnings, like, oh, be careful, it's very dangerous. How are you going to survive Armageddon? How are you going to get everlasting life? That whole thing. Sending me, Bible quotes and texts and, inspirational Bible quotes and things like that. I was diagnosed bipolar, and in the United States, that means I have a disability. So I am still living at home. I did move out for a time, but I wasn't able to stay out for very long. So right now, that's the part of the situation that I'm in right now, is that I am living at home, bipolar, and I have no interest in apostatizing or becoming an ex member. Well, I am interested in becoming an ex member, but not one who makes YouTube videos or talks against the religion or the organization. I just want to live my life. I think we have enough activism, and my whole attitude is, those that want to believe it's the truth, let them believe that it's the truth. I have no problem with that. And those who want to leave, well, let them leave. I mean, what I find, this is just my take on the whole activism thing, but most people that I know, they don't like Jehovah's Witnesses. No matter what culture you go to, if they're familiar at all with the witnesses, they care nothing about them. And you tell them that, anything related to Jehovah's Witness, and they're immediately prone to reject it. So that's one thing. And then on the other hand, you have ex-members who they're more obsessed with the organization than when they were actually believing members. So I just find that kind of interesting. how they're always checking the website, they're always looking for updates, and they're more studious students of the Bible and of all of the all the literature that's coming out of the Watchtower. You can call it propaganda, that's totally fine. So I just find that strange. I mean, as an ex-member, you're out. You are out, and I say go live your life. And I mean, if you want to occasionally glance back at what they're doing, I guess just to laugh at some of the ridiculousness of it all, just a reminder of where you were and where you've come from and how much progress that you've made. So that's my whole thing. I just want to live my life, and I want to celebrate. My birthday's coming up September 5th. I want to just have a little cake, and I want to eat it, and yeah, I'll say happy birthday to myself, and that's good enough. That's another step away. And yeah, I mean, if I want to join my other family members for Christmas, if I want to do Thanksgiving, if I want to do some other secular holiday, I'm not going to feel guilty. If I meet someone and we decide to become romantically involved, then right. Well, once again, I'm not going to feel guilty. It is what it is. I guess my question for you would be what to expect now that I've told my mother that I no longer wish to be a witness, and how to proceed from there. My time is just about up. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Russell, for leaving that message. I'm sorry it was cut short. There is a 5-minute time limit on voicemails, so it wasn't us cutting you short, although it was in a way. But I think I got the gist of your message, and I very much appreciate you leaving it. Let me first of all wish you a happy birthday. I'm recording this reply on Sunday, the 3rd of September, although the video itself will go out much later in the month. My own birthday is on the 10th, so we're not that far apart. But yeah, happy birthday, a belated happy birthday by the time you watch this. Regarding your mother, I mean, look, I don't really have any specific advice, unfortunately, that I haven't already shared in countless voicemail replies that are already on this channel. It's a very challenging and difficult thing to navigate exiting from the Jehovah's Witness religion when you have family members still inside, and I've been through it myself, and it's a very stressful situation. I think if I could go back and change one thing about the way I did it, it would be to completely lower my expectations in terms of thinking I had some ability to change people's minds about firmly entrenched beliefs. I was a bit naive in that regard, thinking, well, I'm sure I can explain it, because I am quite confident in my ability to express myself. I'm aware that I can express my thoughts relatively coherently, and so I had this idea that I could just lay everything out on the table, particularly with my father, and everything would just be understood. And how could I not have seen that this was a cult? You're right, son. And we'd both just go walking off into the sunset. And unfortunately, that is definitely not how things work. And I had a bit of a shock when I saw that, and I reacted in ways that I wouldn't react now, and said things then that I wouldn't say now. And yeah, just try to keep your expectations at absolute bedrock level in terms of having any aspirations that you'll be able to bring your family out with you, because unfortunately that's not how it works. I mean, sometimes it works, but I would suggest that it's more likely to work with believing family when it's, let's say, a spouse, when it's a marriage mate who is going to be having very long conversations and wanting to try to salvage you and wanting to try and keep the relationship intact. It's a little bit different, I would suggest, when it's a parent-child situation, although you do mention that due to your condition you're still living at home, so maybe, I don't know. But yeah, just keep your expectations very low and aim for a situation where you can at least not be shunned, where you can at least have your family in your life in some way, shape or form, which does happen. And maybe there will be some exception for you, given the fact that you are bipolar. Speaking of which, the usual disclaimers go out. Unfortunately, I have to repeat them because it's important. I am not a mental health professional, and whatever I have to say in this message regarding you, you should understand that ultimately your mental health may take precedent over, let's say, any advice I have about you should approach leaving the organization or what attitude you should have. So always listen to what your therapist or counselor has to say, and let that take priority over anything that I say. And make sure that you're getting, I'm sure you are getting the proper treatment for your condition, but absolutely prioritize that. I need to put that out there. So with all of that housekeeping done, I want to get to your general gist, the thing that you devoted most of your message to talking about, which is your approach to activism and the fact that you won't be becoming an activist, and you find it strange how many ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, in your view, obsess over the religion and or the Bible more than they did when they were believers. And your whole thing is, I just think you should go live your life, that's how you put it, and maybe stick your head around the door every now and then, but for the most part, just block it all out. Now, that will work for many people. I can think of people in my life or people I know who have that approach to Jehovah's Witnesses, and I don't begrudge them for one moment, because believe it or not, ex-Jehovah's Witness activism is a tough gig. It's a tough gig. It's extremely draining on my mental health, to the point where there's only so many more years that I can imagine myself doing this. It's that draining on me personally to revisit a source of personal trauma for the purpose of putting resources out there, making resources available for people like yourself. And not only is it traumatizing to revisit my former religion, to do this work, it's also traumatizing to be targeted with hate and online abuse by other ex-Jehovah's Witnesses who resent me for whatever reason, to the point where they'll invent stuff that I've done or said. I don't need to go into any details, I'm sure, but I have been subjected to an awful lot of hatred, and I can fully relate to someone like you who's just coming out, who says, you know what, activism's not for me. I am not going to stand in your way. I'm not going to stand in your way. But having said that, I think that if you are able to do activism, and this won't apply to everybody, but if you are able to do activism, which necessitates keeping an interest in what's happening, it necessitates keeping your eye on the way the organization's changing and what the latest developments are. If you're able to do it, and do it in a healthy, positive, enlightening, productive way, you have a chance of making a real difference on this planet to people, or for people who are under the thrall of an extremely toxic, abusive group. It's not for everyone. It can't be for everyone because we're all different. But I do think there is a subset of ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, and I'm speaking now as someone who's been doing this for over 11 years. There's like a group within the ex-Jehovah's Witness community or movement that thinks very similarly to you and says, look, you know, you should just move on. You know, you should just make your decision and walk away and never look back. And while, again, I can understand some people having this approach, I think there's a very fine line between just walking away and being in denial. And I think especially when we're talking about trauma, because that's what this is, you know, we're talking about a traumatizing, abusive group. It's not always healthy to be in denial. It's not always healthy to just pretend something that's traumatizing, to just pretend it never happened. Sometimes, to at least some degree, you need to confront it. It's helpful and therapeutic and cathartic and healing to confront it in a safe way so that you're in control. No one's dragging you to your tablet or to your phone and forcing you to watch YouTube videos. You can decide with what frequency you watch this stuff. No one's forcing you, but it's there when you need it. And it might be that you only need to stick your head around the door once a month, once every 2 or 3 months. Who knows? I don't know. But without being an expert on mental health, as I said earlier, I do think it's healthy in many cases to confront this, to understand the mechanics of what was done to you, so that when these residual beliefs and paranoias and hang-ups pop back into your head, as they have done with me, you know, oh, it's a pandemic. Oh, my house is shaking because there's an earthquake. Armageddon bingo, you know, happens. Just without me having any control, my mind just immediately goes, oh, maybe I was wrong all along. You stupid man, Lloyd. How could you have missed this? I only felt that way for a split second. But if even I could feel that way years and years after leaving, I can only imagine how the thousands, hundreds of thousands of ex-Jehovah's Witnesses are feeling, even long after they've walked out of the Kingdom Hall. This stuff, unfortunately, is so pervasive that it stays with you. I've described it as coding. We were coded to see the world a certain way, to react to the world a certain way, and to have certain feelings and certain emotions that serve the organization, even though they're eating us alive. And so I applaud people who can distance themselves in a healthy way. I think that's a laudable goal to aim towards. But I also think there's something to be said for at least occasionally just kind of confronting things and saying, you know what, this group hurt me. And I just need to validate my feelings and my decision, and know that I'm not crazy, and know that I'm not damned, know that I'm not worthy of destruction at an impending Armageddon. I just need to sort things out in my head, and I'm going to do it by reading a book by Ray Franz or watching a Lloyd Evans video or whatever the hell it is that you need to do to just get a bit of validation. And someone needs to produce that content. I'm obviously not the only ex-Jehovah's Witness on YouTube. There are many more. I'm certainly not the only ex-Jehovah's Witness author. There are many books out there. And these are all resources that an ex-Jehovah's Witness at some point has taken the time and effort to sit down and create from nothing. Whether it's a video, whether it's a book, whether it's a blog article, these are resources that help people on their journey. And speaking for myself, when you mentioned the Bible, and how you said that some ex-Jehovah's Witnesses are more obsessed than they were previously. I wholeheartedly embrace that when it comes to the Bible. I am definitely more interested in Bible scholarship and studying the Bible and its origins now than when I was a Jehovah's Witness, when I was supposed to be taking it seriously. I find that ironic, but it's also deeply satisfying to learn more about this book, which, let's face it, doesn't only impact on the lives of Jehovah's Witnesses and ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, but has a massive influence all over the world, deep into the 21st century, and I'm sure it will continue to have sway for many centuries to come. Where does it come from? Who wrote it? In what historical context? Where are the contradictions? You know, where are the things we should be looking out for? You know, it's a really, really interesting rabbit hole and satisfying rabbit hole for me to go down. And I'm still very much learning. I'm obviously reading what scholars have to say. I interview some of them on this channel. But I find it extremely enjoyable and cathartic to do that. And again, you know, you're welcome to say, well, I don't give a damn. And, you know, quite frankly, again, your situation needs to be based on your capacity for delving into this stuff because of your mental health condition. You need to be responsible, and you need to make sure that you're not stressing yourself out with things that can be traumatizing for you. But hopefully I've just helped express why people do activism. You said in your message, we have enough activism. And I do disagree with you there. I do think that, well, the way I think of it is, imagine if Ray Franz had said, well, we have enough activism, you know? Imagine if Barbara Anderson had said, we have enough activism. Imagine if any other well-known ex-Jehovah's Witness activist or writer had had that attitude and just thought, you know what, I can't be bothered. Other people have talked about it. Here's the thing. Everyone is going to approach a certain subject from a unique perspective. We're all different. You put 10 people in a room and ask them all the same question and just look at the spectrum of answers you're going to get. And it's exactly the same thing with ex-Jehovah's Witness activism. You need that spectrum. You need multiple voices, because the way I say something may not resonate with a particular person, but the way someone else comments on more or less exactly the same thing, or even says almost the same thing, but just in a slightly different way, suddenly it's, now I understand. That's why we need activism. And when it comes to activism, toxic though the ex-Jehovah's Witness community can be, and draining though this work is, it's extremely fulfilling. And it's enabled me to have a YouTube channel where I can receive voicemails, including your voicemail, and share my reaction. I hope it's been useful for you. I hope, if nothing else, I've just given you a slightly different angle to look at this. But I genuinely wish you well in your exit from the organization. I hope you're able to find a way forward with your mother, and I wish you all the very best. If you would like to leave a voicemail, the thing to do is go to speakpipe.com/Cedars, remembering to indicate clearly if you don't want me to broadcast your message on this channel. But that's all we have time for. Thank you for watching.